Good morning, everyone. My name is Tim Selden, and with me is Clint Lausch from Ames. I'm from the Montessori Foundation. If you don't already know us, we are a group that consults with Montessori schools around the world. Clint, you worked for another group that I think very highly of, Independent School Management. You went out on your own and you've started a business called Ames.
That's right. Software program. I would say it's the all-in-one marketing software built for schools, and one a piece of that marketing that we're going to talk about today has to do with reviews and testimonials. Another way to put it in digital marketing terms, reputation management. But I think reputation management is a very formal term. I think when we talk about what we're going to talk about today, which is the value of parent testimonials and reviews and where that plays into your overall marketing to attract families. I think it can't be understated enough, and it is something that we can help out with within our software. But yeah, so I think this is an overlooked topic. I don't know what your sense is, Tim, but I feel like whenever we think about marketing and all the things you can do with marketing, the concept of getting reviews and getting testimonials, it's like we know we want them and we try to get them, and sometimes it's easier said than done. But I don't want it to go kind of understated how important it can be in the process. What are your experience or thoughts on just the overall concept of getting reviews from parents?
There's no question. There's a reason why Yelp and Google and all these other places do reviews is, there's anything you say is far less believable than what a customer says. And if they love you, it tends to help. If they think that you did a bad job, it's something they really listen to and get scared about. So positive testimonials are incredibly important. The only thing that's even better is if a kid says, I love my
Right.
school because whatever. So, yes, past parents, present staff, why do we love the school? Gathering that kind of information is really important.
And what I want to do is I want to share something. I used to share this all the time. Oh, Tim, can you allow
Sure.
screen sharing?
Yeah, hang on a sec. There you go.
Thank you, sir.
And one thing as you're doing that, what we all know is that we have so little time, so little energy, and so little money. And what you're trying to do is we all know what we know. I mean, we know we ought to be blogging. We know we need to be doing really great ads. We know we need to have a drone take video footage of our campus, whatever. We struggle to get it all done because there's never enough time, never enough energy, never enough money. And so what we're trying to do is work smart and do the stuff that's the most likely to get positive results.
Yeah, and when we think about results, right, it's like there's so many different, like you said, Tim, there's so many different levers that we can pull, right? And this is something I share. I used to share this all the time, almost every single one of my presentations. I almost felt like a broken record sometimes, but I always think it's important to revisit it, which is understanding the family journey and the steps that they go through in the research. And this is something we talked even about last week for those that were on last week's session. But let me I'll go through this quickly. But when families are considering a school and how it relates to our marketing, it's first they have to become aware that you exist. Well, that could be word of mouth, that could be advertising, right? Social media, all the different things that you can do to create awareness. Then, that many times what they'll do is they'll hop onto Google, the search engines, hey, private schools near me, Montessori schools near me, check you out. Where are you at on the maps? How far are you away from where they live? Right. So you want to be able to stand out, get found, be found on the search engines, right? And then we get into reputation. So what plays into reputation is certainly it's the content on your website, blogs, articles, and then it's talking with friends and family, and then it's reading the reviews. And as we all know, there's some popular review sites out there, right? We know Niche, we know Great Schools, Private School Review. If you're in Canada, there's Our Kids, but then there's also Google and Facebook, which are also very, very important, and I'll show you why that's the case here in a second. Um, and it's at this point just to kind of bring this all full circle here with the family journey, Google actually gives a term to this, which is ZMOT. That's the zero moment of truth, which is at this point, somebody's going to make a decision whether they're going to make the extra effort to engage with you. We call that the conversion point. So they learn who you are, where you're located, talk to friends and family, check out your reputation. Yeah, I'm ready to go schedule a tour. And then you hope they apply, they enroll, they have a great experience and influence the next person's decision. But as we're talking about today, like when we talk about ads, typically we're talking about this stage. When we talk about ranking in Google, we talk about this stage in green. Today, we're going to talk about a little bit more about reputation, which is also kind of what we talked about last week when we talked about blogging, articles, and what type of content should you write that's going to be attractive to families. Along those lines, as they're looking at your reputation, checking out those reviews. What I would love to do, how many people do we have on? I know we don't have a gigantic crowd today. We have a few folks on, but for those that are on here, what I'd love for you to do is go Google your school name as you sit here. Go into Google, type in your school name, and what I want you to do is I just typed in, this is a school that's literally right down the street, so I just put them in for no other reasons than they're literally a stone's throw away from where I'm sitting right now. So put in your school name, and what I want you to do is check out your Google reviews. And I don't care right now what the number is. We'll get into that here in a second. But I want you to click into your Google reviews, and I want you to go to newest. And what's interesting is, so we'll see here, the newest review that this school received was from 2 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, four, right, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. This is something to keep an eye on, especially if you want, hey, do we want the score to be higher than a 4? All right, what do we need to do to make that happen? If I'm a prospective parent looking at these, I'm like, okay, I'm not going to put too much weight behind these, but right now this may not be a major factor because I would look at this and be like, I'm only seeing this bad review from 3 years ago, really. So we want to do what we can to how do we get more of those reviews? But I think this is a good exercise to do because especially over the past couple of weeks, I've been doing a lot of audits for schools, their marketing reports. If anybody saw the email that I sent out saying, "Hey, I'll run a complimentary report for you," and I saw a lot of this. Let me see if I can pull this up real quick. Where is it? Is this it? This is just what a look at one of the reports has, and what we could see here is when we're looking at business critical information, review reply percentage. So we're always looking at how many reviews are you getting? Are you replying to those reviews? It's a major factor. Before we dive in, any for those that are on here, anybody do this? Anybody have getting reviews on a regular basis? Has anybody actively tried to get reviews?
I certainly have gone out and I asked people for reviews and so forth. And we started hearing that people, were signing up to do reviews and they were being asked, did anyone ask you to give a review as opposed to you spontaneously doing it? And the
Right.
problem is the people who write reviews are usually the ones who are the most frustrated with you. So what we need to do is encourage people to do it. But I think that one of the issues is helping people to think about how do you get it done, because there's never enough time. And secondly, what works best to get the kind of reviews you want, because there's more and more and more places where you might get a review. Great schools, private school reviews, Yelp. Some people are paying for Yelp, niche Google places, private school review. It goes on and on. So how do you get it done within the time and energy that you've got? And how do you help people to write really good reviews?
Yeah. Have you had a lot of success with that? Have you actively gone out and got reviews just out of curiosity? I know it's something we haven't talked a whole lot about, but just wonder if you've
Yeah, I
ever had
mean,
a
what
luck.
what I'll usually do is I'll call someone up and I'll say something like, Clint, I noticed that we haven't had any reviews about our school in the last 3 years, and I'd like to get some new reviews. Would you be willing to write one? You always seem to be a very supportive parent. And if you say, yep, I say, okay, listen, I'm going to send you an email with links to the the websites that typically parents will see if they're looking for our school. And, if you're willing to review, one, two, or three or more, I mean, if you could repaste obviously the same review, it's really helpful if you are willing to do that. And if there's anyone else who you think cares about the school, if you can encourage them to do that and share this email, that would be great. We need as many as we can get, preferably not all in the same day.
Right, right. I've actually heard of that. If you get too many at one time, Google, like especially if they go to Google, Google will actually flag it and restrict reviews from happening if you do it all in one time.
Yep.
I think that's a great approach. I mean that's the more personal communication you can have with a family and asking for that, the better. Because probably one of the number one things I hear when I talk to schools about that, they're like, "Yeah, we ask, but then we don't get anything." Nobody writes them. They don't take the time to do it. And so I wanted to certainly spend some time today to brainstorm and share some insights of what I've seen work. But I pulled up this document as well, just as a little, working document that we could use for our conversation today, which is at first it's like, which review sites, right? Which review sites should we care about? There's a lot out there that are popular that we probably shouldn't necessarily care about. Like I know some schools might get some reviews on Yelp, but I don't think that's a major player that we should care a whole lot about unless you
Well,
completely
it,
just.
it shows up typically in a Google search. It's going to show
Oh,
up
it will for sure.
at two or three. So if you got a low ranking there, it's going to hurt.
I think that's a great point. If you go to Yelp and you have a low ranking, you definitely need to pull that up, right? That's
I
really
think what,
important.
what you're talking about is what's the sites, and you and I both know, they're going to be Google Places and Yelp and great schools and private school reviews, niche, maybe care.com for some schools. Can anyone think of any others? As you said, in Canada, there's, what is it, our schools?
Our kids,
Our
yeah,
kids.
yeah,
And then
care.com.
there's often going to be other places. For example, in the typical city, there are Facebook groups, and new parents or parents that are thinking about moving to your city will usually find those groups and join them. And they'll ask the question of what school would you recommend? And
Yeah,
if there are people on that group that love you, that can help. And if there are people on that group who trash you, they usually won't trash you openly. They'll say, I've had experience with that school. DM me, direct message,
right,
and
right,
they'll
right. Yeah,
trash you behind your back.
right. I think that goes. It at least should come in here, which is saying, I mean, they can be really popular, but parent Facebook groups, not necessarily a review site, but a word of mouth site. That's for sure.
But it's a good point. I mean, Facebook, the most Facebook pages for schools have a review option. And so
Yeah,
you want to look at, if you're allowing people to comment and if you're allowing people to rank you, you certainly want to be sure you're trying to get good ones.
yes.
What are you showing on the screen now, Clint?
I am showing. I wanted to see something. It used to be where, um, in the Google Business Profile, they would show. Um, oh, there it is. So they will show reviews from the web. So like if I were Pope John Paul, right? They have decent Google reviews. They have really good niche reviews, but grade school is not looking so great, if you will. No pun intended. Um, so that leads into, as we have this working document here, it's okay. We talked a little bit about why they're important. They play a huge. Let me mention another reason why they're important. So we talked about, obviously they're just important from the perspective of researching your school, right? Families are looking for schools. They see your reviews. They read those reviews, and that is just one of the pieces of the puzzle that plays into the your overall reputation, of whether you're going to get somebody to take that action to schedule a tour. The other thing I want to mention, which I think gets I would say overlooked, or maybe you're just not even aware of, is that especially when it comes to Google reviews, that's a ranking factor for ranking high in the search engine. So when you look at, so let's type in private schools near me, right? And you see these map listings, right? Um, one of the big goals that you should have when you think about digital presence is how do I get in here if you're not here already, right? If you're around your school area, you type in private schools near me or private schools in your town in Philadelphia, whatever it might be, and you don't consistently find yourself in these map listings. So it's you could try to get ranked in here just like you try to get ranked in the search engine, which we call organic listings. One of the factors of how you can rank in here is your review score and your review frequency. So imagine you're getting one new 5-star review every single month. I can tell you right now, most schools are not getting that because they're just not actively trying. That becomes a major factor in potentially, imagine you are, these are all sponsored. Imagine you're Pine Forge Academy. I don't even know who they are. Pine Forge Academy, and you're trying to break into the top three. Well, what I'd be trying to do, and even though they have more reviews, there's other factors in here. I'd be trying to getting more reviews, more frequent reviews, and that's not the only thing, but it's a factor to move you into that top three. Hopefully that makes sense. So yes, I think a lot of our conversation today is going to be around getting more word of mouth, getting more positive reviews, but there's also this Google ranking factor that I don't think should be forgotten about either.
Absolutely. So again, and one of the things is getting parents to do it. As a strategy I learned long ago from the people who used to work with at ISM. They would send somebody down to the school and they would do, a couple of days of just saying, we're looking to do we're doing a brochure. We got our photography team here. We're interviewing people. Tell us about your school. And they'd get parents and kids and teachers talking about the school. They'd be very careful, to note on the recording, who is it that's saying this? Um, and then if they heard something they thought was useful, they'd have it all transcribed, which today is much, much easier to do. And then they would approach the head of school and say, I see the following really interesting reviews or comments about your school. Is there any reason why we shouldn't contact these people and see if we can use it? Will they give us permission? So quite often, if you ask somebody, write a review of your school, they it's intimidating when you're sitting there with an empty page to write it. But if you're talking to somebody about, what is it you like about your school? And this commonly happens in things like monthly community meetings or some, coffees that you might be holding every week or whatever. If you're recording that with their permission, if they know you're recording it, just in case we say something intelligent, we'll never use it without your permission, that kind of thing. You may get some really good stuff. Conversely, lots of people walk around with a video camera or an iPhone or something like that, and they'll be just talking to kids, talking to teachers, so just trying to get B-roll footage or spontaneous interview, which may or may not ever make it into a video about your school. But if you're looking to create a blog about your school, or if you're looking to tell stories, there's no better way than walking around, grabbing it, see if you get people talking. And then if you've got a good service, like you can use things like Descript, or you could use Applaud, which is another device. There's lots of these things that are out there these days, other than Otter and some of those other softwares that are mostly used when you're doing a Google Meet or a Microsoft Teams or a Zoom meeting, which is great too. But you're probably not going to be having this kind of review teased out of parents if you're in an online meeting. You're probably going to have to do it face to face. So having an iPhone, this what's on my computer right now in the back of it. I've got I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that little device?
Yeah.
So that's a Plod, and a Plod is a little digital recorder that has AI built into it. I know I have a virtual background, which I'm going to turn off because it's silly. So this is Plod. You can find it on Amazon or go to Plod, Plaud dot, I think it's AI. And this is a really interesting device for a school because if you're in a meeting and you've got Plod working, it will record what's being said, it'll transcribe it word for word, and it will give you a summary. And it'll do it within one seamless thing. So you don't have to go through multiple steps or import it to your computer or anything like that. It'll just take care of it. And that can be really, really useful, whether you're a school leader and you just want to remember what did we say and agree to and who's supposed to do what, or if you're trying to walk around the school and you're interviewing people, it can be a really nice device. Again, the other one I use is Descript, which
Yeah.
you can get a hold of that. It's a subscription service. You get so many hours a month of Descript time to upload an audio or video file and turn it into a transcript.
There it is. I think
There,
when you were saying that earlier, I thought you were saying Claude, because
I
Claude is another. It's like a ChatGPT alternative, which is really good. But I think you were saying Claude. This is really cool. I love this.
yeah, one of the schools that I work with uses Plod, and I saw it work so well. I said I want one of those for myself, and it's been great.
I love that.
So anyway, the point I'm getting at is however you do it, and I would personally recommend you do it with something like a video camera or an iPhone, which is a great video camera, or your Samsung or Galaxy or whatever you use. Get video footage. Don't make a big deal out of it. Just get you people used to the idea that you often record either just the voice or the 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 video, the face and with the action and the words. It may or may not be ready for prime time in terms of turning it into a video about your school, but it's often a great way to get parents talking about what do they appreciate about the school. And the nugget you pull out probably isn't going to be a 10 sentence monologue. It's probably going to be a single sentence, maybe two sentences about what they love about your school. And kids, don't forget getting kids.
Yeah.
Now, again, don't use it without permission, but I'm just telling you that's a really great way to do it. The other thing is if we're trying to get reviews online, if I'm wandering around my school and Clint, I get you talking and I get a piece from you and I like it, and I say I turn this into written text. I can call you up and say, listen, I when we were talking, you said some stuff that was really, really neat. I'm going to send it to you and take a look and see if there's any way anything you'd want to change or if that's something you'd be comfortable sharing. And if you're willing to share it, would you be willing to take that kind of review and use that as part of a review of us on greatschools.com or niche or whatever? In other words, you've already got their words.
I think it's brilliant. I love that. I love that.
Now let
Has
me
anybody
ask you,
tried that?
Clint.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Clint, tell me about what Ames can do to make this easier for people like me and our guests.
Well, I'll pull it up here in a second. I'll share that in terms of how we can use some technology as well to help with this. I think it goes into the overall strategy and thought process of, okay, how do we get reviews? When should we get reviews? Where should we get them posted? So the reason I had you, come in here and type in your name was just to see, hey, obviously what's your score, what's your review score, how many stars, but then also when was the last review that you got, and how many reviews are you getting every single month? And I've probably done about 10 plus audit reports recently, and I don't know if anybody's gotten more than one every other, every other month, and most are it's been years since they got a review. So when you see something like that and you say, okay, I know I need to get more reviews. How do we do it? One, I would say do exactly what Tim had just described and be able to try to get interviews and be able to transcribe that, and you want to really make it easy for parents, right? I think that's the big thing is that when we just say, hey, can you go write us a review? It's almost the equivalent of saying to a teacher, hey, can you go write a blog article? You hope you get somebody to take you up on it, but everybody's busy and it's difficult and it can be time consuming. They forget to do it. We're all distracted, right? So there's all these factors playing against you. So, but again, we get back to I want more reviews. I want more 5-star reviews. How do we get them? So let me talk about, I guess, just an additional strategy, another way to get them. This is more in line with using some technology to streamline it for you. But I think first, let's talk about strategy, which is, this is why I put some action items in here, which would be obviously look at your reviews. Okay, you decided we want to get more reviews. You could gather parent ambassadors, right? So who are your parent ambassadors? Or certainly anybody that feel to write a good review. But let's just start with your parent ambassadors, right? And then what you can do is you can automate the review request process. That's where some technology comes into play. We'll talk about automating it. But when I say gather parent ambassadors, what I've seen work is doing a 3-part review request campaign. So I'm just typing this as I go as like a working document. So a 3-part review request campaign. So by that I mean, don't just say, okay, these are our 10 parents that we think would write reviews. Let's send them an email. Let's ask for a review. Obviously, it's better if you call them. Let's say you want to automate this and do it at scale. Um, you can send them an email, and then what's going to happen is after email 1, nobody's probably going to do anything, right? You might have missed the email, didn't open it. You could use what I would say is you could use email plus text, so you can do text messages as well. So that's why I like to recommend doing like a 3-part campaign. So email number 1 goes out today, right? You've got your parents say, hey, it would really help us a lot. We'd really appreciate you writing a review. Here's why it's important to us. And here's where I would, and then give them links. So link to Google has to be one of them. I would absolutely recommend always making one of them Google for all the reasons that we talked about earlier, which is one, it's one of the first things that you see, which is the Google review. 2, as I mentioned, it's a ranking factor. So you want to try to link directly over to Google. And then I would put, one other. So in this case, imagine I were Pope John Paul, right? Um, I would probably link over to great schools as well because I want to get that rating up. So I would say, write it. You could write it on Google and write it on a second one. So one other maybe where you have lower reviews to try to boost them. So write it here, write it over there. But I always try to recommend Google. And as I mentioned, do it as a 3-parter. So 3 emails, texts, and then 7 days apart. Right. So I like to do it 7 days apart. So email text goes out today. If they don't write the review, another one goes out 7 days, and then another one 7 days later. So it's really like a 3-week campaign. Now I'm trying to do 2 things at once here. I'm going to pull this up on.
Just to clarify, if I'm understanding, you're sending out the initial request by email and text.
Yeah.
You're telling them Google and one other site because you don't want to throw 8 sites at them because they'll probably do
Correct.
nothing. The second site is one that you particularly think will help you for one reason or another.
Yeah.
And by the way, for most of us, I'd say private school review and niche are really important. So I'm not sure that I wouldn't say, it's a pain in the neck, but if you would do Google and Yelp and great schools and private school and niche, I'd really appreciate it. And I think as far as I know, you could do the same review at each place.
That's 100% correct. 100% correct. And what I'm going to do is I'll start showing you a little bit about how we can
So
do this.
are you then suggesting that we're tracking to see if they've actually done it? And if they haven't, we're following up?
That is 100% correct. Let me show you how we can automate some of this.
By the way, for those of you that are listening, next week, Renee Farkas is going to bring a guest, and we're going to do part 2 of this. And we're going to talk about really innovative ways, in addition to what we're already discussing now. And this is great, Clint. This is so important, and the time is right. This is the time to be getting this done for the enrollment that's really going to start to fire up in December and January and February. So if you haven't already done all your enrollment for next year, and some schools have, I know, this is the right time of year to be really rolling up your sleeves.
All right. So I'll pull my screen over here in a second to show you how we can do this, but let me just kind of recap again. 3-part sequence, email and text, link to Google and one other. Do 7 days apart. Now, here's something else I've seen work really, really well, especially if you've ever tried to do this before and you've struggled to get responses. If you're not above bribes, I've seen schools incorporate things like, hey, if anybody that writes a review, you'll be entered in to win $100 Amazon gift card or something like that. I've actually seen that work really well. Up to you whether you want to do it, but it's an idea to potentially, get some extra encouragement to write those reviews. So, I'll put that in here as an option, to increase review responses. Consider a giveaway like an Amazon gift card, right? It doesn't have to be like if you write a review, we're going to give you one, kind of like a pay for the review. But it's like, hey, as a thank you, you'll enter it into a giveaway. We'll give away 1 or 2 for anybody that writes a review, right? So in general, I like to run these campaigns once a quarter. If you don't already have a regular cadence of getting reviews, or you're just not getting reviews organically, and you look at your reviews here, and it's like it's been a year, it's been 2 years, 3 years since you got your last review. Um, Go ahead and try to do these types of campaigns, 1 time per quarter. And when I said, like in the email to get here, about how you can get reviews every single month, if you do this once a quarter, they're not going to all come in one shot. They'll be spread out so that when you average them out, it ends up being like you get into getting like 1 or 2 reviews every single month, which is great, right? Because if you think about it, you do this for 6 months, 2 campaigns, the next thing you know, hey, we've got 5 to 10 reviews, and now a parent goes to look at your reviews. 1, the score is going to be higher. 2, when they go to newest, it's going to be 1 month ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and they're going to be all really great reviews. Not just, even 5 stars doesn't mean a whole lot when there's nothing written, but you get a parent to write, hey, best decision ever, love this school, best, our kids love it. And you just have review after review for the past several months. That goes a long way, right? That can't be ignored. So let me just show you. Thank you for the prompt, Tim. I'll just show you real quick. And this is just a demo part of the platform, but understand how important this is. You can, if you use our platform, and let's say you upload your parent ambassadors in here, you can start running review requests. So you can go into requests, you could send review requests, you can pick names of the parents, you could send them a SMS, you could send them an email. You can load in a template to do this, to send that request. And that way you can put in Google, and you can put in Great Schools or any other one that you want to put in there. And then you can see who ended up posting the reviews. So you can see which reviews have been posted. And you just have to set up your review links and things like that. Again, this is just a demo side. But yeah, we have a whole section of the platform to just make it a little bit easier, right? Okay, let's upload our contacts. Let's send out review requests. And then you can actually get some data about who responded, who didn't, the review scores, all those good things. So it just helps, again, streamline this so that you get in a really good habit. It provides a systematized process and a really visible way to get those reviews in. I know a few other folks have hopped on. Is anybody on here? I know we've been talking for a little bit, and hopefully you got some good ideas to go back and try. Anybody on here that's actively getting reviews, trying to get reviews, something that's worked really well for you? Silence.
Huh. How many of you have are listening to this and are thinking, okay, I'm going to do it. I'm going to use Ames because a lot of you are like us. You're actually using Ames. How many of you are going to upload your parent ambassadors and make the request, or feel like you understand what Clint was just saying? Or how many of you like my suggestion of walking around with a smartphone and just getting people talking and seeing if you can get people saying things that are good sound bites that you can put on the website or turn into an email and say, you said this about school. Would you be willing to share that on Great Schools? Okay, this week it's crickets. No one's talking. Um,
I'll just raise my hand. I love that idea. Um, Obviously, it's a better way to build relationships and have those one-on-one conversations. The more you can do that, the better, right? I would look at that as like try to do that first. Build have those one-on-one conversations, and if you want to complement that with something like this, where maybe you could say you're doing this a little bit more in bulk. It's not as much of a personal touch, but whenever you can have that personal touch, you're always going to get better results.
yep. And of course, if you learn how to do Instagram, learn how to do Facebook, because, again, you wouldn't ever do this without someone's permission. But if you can get somebody talking nicely about your school and you just slice it down to a very short clip, you can throw it out on Instagram and it can be a little short reel or whatever those things are. And it can be very, very helpful, and it could be embedded on your website and so forth. Because a lot of times what we want to do is get a string of people saying nice things about our school and making it available embedded on our website or embedded in an email that you send out as part of an automated system. Like, we really appreciate the ask for information last week. Thought, you might enjoy hearing what some of the past parents have said about the school when we were talking to them last month. And here's three parents with their thoughts.
Tim, I wanted to get your thoughts on this. Would you ever, or have you ever, like, let me take a step back. When you think about, okay, what are those messages we would love to get out to the market, right? The different themes, right? Maybe it's talking about how great the community is, or talking about certain part of your programs that are really important that you would want to highlight. Would you ever kind of prompt that and say, hey, we're really looking to create more awareness or more word of mouth about a particular part of our program. Can you talk about that specifically? Maybe it's obviously you talk to a parent you know has already had that experience and you ask for that, but would you even recommend giving that prompt to talk about
Absolutely.
a
Shamelessly.
specific? Yeah, okay.
Shamelessly. I mean, it never hurts. What you want is a way of holding your video camera, stable. You might want a gimbal, if you know what one of those is. You want to know how to get this stuff done, and you want to get out there and do it. And it's so hard to make the time. I mean, I'm speaking as a guy who I know this stuff, I write about this stuff, and do I do a blog? No. Do I go out and do this on a regular basis? No. Do I need to do it? Yeah. How many of you are like me?
Yeah, no, I love that. Yeah, prompts even make it a little bit easier because it gives somebody something to specifically hone in on, focus to talk about. So that's probably the other maybe action item is, I'll say, you could even say it's optional, but give a prompt about writing a review regarding a specific feature, something like that. Right. I'll
Hmm.
probably write that better. But yeah, potentially give a prompt.
Yeah, I mean, classically say, I'm looking to get some stuff for the website, or I'm looking to just gather things that I can transcribe and possibly use on the website or in a newsletter or, whatever. Would you be willing to do it? And, you know, you know, would you like some prompts, or tell me what do you love about our school? Or, is there anything about the community that you particularly appreciate? Or how does your kid feel about coming here? What brought you here in the first place? What are the five best things? They're
Yeah, I
endless.
love that. And I think you've kind of alluded to it, Tim, which is, we're talking about using this information to get reviews, and because of the importance of reviews, but especially if you go around and you're recording or you're getting a lot of feedback. Imagine you have a prompt. What are the five favorite things or what's your number one thing that you love about the school? Even if you get one response from 10 people, if you recall from our session last week where we talked about, that's a really great way to get content to potentially use for a blog or for your email, which is ask one question of multiple people. Then your job is just to combine and curate that, say the top 10 reasons why families love our school. And then you get one response from one family, another response. And it's just like the string of great feedback and testimonials and stories that you can use that content across social, across your blog, across certainly on the review sites. So then there's other ways to even start using that content.
Yep. Well, another question that I think we should address is the negative review. So
Mm,
all of us have seen negative reviews on our sites, and I think one of the reasons why many of us don't go to the audit, we don't Google ourselves, is we don't want to see all the nasty things people are saying because it hurts. But what do you do about that? What's the common wisdom in your world, Clint, as a communication and marketing specialist?
sure. So I'll give two responses. One is, again, I'll come back to our guinea pig school here, who has no idea they're being a guinea pig right now. Um, which is if I hop in here, right, and okay, I see a bad review like this. One is this is 3 years ago, right? Pretty long ago, but it's a top three review because there hasn't been other reviews. So one is that would also just further nudge me like, hey, if I can get more reviews in here, one, you start pushing the negative reviews down. So they're not just easily as visible. Two, my other first reaction is, and the typical recommendation I have is to respond to all reviews, positive or negative. Positive review, so Brian writes a positive review. Hey, thanks so much for the review, Brian. Really appreciate it, and just have a really great response. Then if you see a negative review, I've seen two ways to respond to this, which is one, if you recognize the family, so sorry to hear about this experience, and to try to take it offline, right? It's so sorry to hear about this experience. We always strive to do X, Y, and Z. If your family didn't experience it, and you probably already know this as well, but you're replying. Let's have a one-on-one conversation. So the other people that are reviewing this, they're at least seeing that you're responsive to it and you're acknowledging it. The other one that I've seen a lot of is, you'll get like a 1 star from Bradley Lynch, which for all I know could be spam, right? There's always a mix of spam or people you don't recognize. Like, why did they write a bad review? Um, you can reply with, I'm sorry to hear about this bad experience. I was looking up your name. We don't have a record of anybody at our school by this name. We would love to learn more about, why you wrote this review, something like that. So you can actually acknowledge that, hey, we have no idea who you are, why you wrote this review. So again, if I'm a prospective parent, I have no idea if this is a real person or not. Um, and to reply to that I found to be helpful rather than just letting it lie and people that are coming here just forming their own opinions about it. So those are my thoughts. Get more reviews, push negative reviews down, reply to all reviews, positive or negative.
Makes a lot of sense. So I think one of the things that we're remembering is our online reputation counts, that getting people to write reviews can serve a double purpose. It gets, it pushes the bad reviews down. It can often get us a sense of what people think about our school. We get great quotes that we can use as either pull quotes on our website or testimonials if your website has a place for parent testimonials. Um, and you can develop relationships with these people and get them to go to Facebook and write a blog, sharing that, go to the Moms of Greatest Sarasota, Florida, and write a nice review about your experience with our school. All kinds of good things can come out of it. And there is an investment of time and energy. So you have to build this into your calendar.
100%. All right, Tim. Well, we are officially reaching the end of the hour here.
Yeah, anyone got any questions or comments? Everyone's being dead quiet.
Tim, when you were gone last week, we had a lively bunch last week. Now we were
That's
talking about
great.
we were talking about content creation and writing blog content. I feel like that's always a topic that gets the conversation
I
going.
think I was so sorry I wasn't there, and I started to watch it. And yesterday I just got back from Dubai, which whole different story about the craziness of Dubai. So we've got a big resort there that brings 20,000 families to this multi-island offshore resort. And the people developing it are parents who sent their kids to Montessori school. So they want a Montessori family resort program for the kids when they don't want to be with their parents or when the parents want a day without their kids. And most kids just literally, they go to the resort, they have dinner with their parents, breakfast with their parents, but the day they're off in some kind of camp type program. So we've been asked at the Montessori Foundation to design a 365 day a year program based on Montessori for children from birth through 14. So it'll be travel camp, science camp, culinary arts camp, music camp, theater camp, all kinds of different programs, all on a desert island is the only way I could put it. So there's beach, there's swimming pools, there's incredible facilities, and think Epcot. So that it's been pretty crazy. We're having a lot of fun with that.
That's pretty cool.
So bottom line is, I am sorry I missed the last couple of weeks. I'm glad you all were talking about blogs. I think it's one of the things that I often struggle with. Where am I going to get the time to get a blog written? And I love my friend ChatGPT. You load that ChatGPT up with the right information and give it the right cues, it can do some pretty good stuff for you.
Um, and then for next week, Tim, you said we have Renee. I think we're going to try to bring a head of school on who's doing some really great things in terms of getting family stories. Correct?
Yeah. The other thing I would recommend is you started to talk about how to respond to negative reviews. And I think that's an important topic in its own right. So, if you get a chance, let's put our heads together and see if we can either create a white paper for people on, what do you do if someone smashes you on Google or Yelp or Niche or whatever. How can you turn that around and make it something positive or at least neutralize it?
I like that idea. I know I have it. I have to wipe the dust off of it somewhere. I have like this really interesting flow chart of like if negative review, like how to respond. Like if it says this, respond this way. If it's not this, like when do you take it offline? And it's this whole if then sequence, if you will, or flow chart based
Yeah,
upon what was written, where was it written, what's the topic, and how you should handle it. So I think that's a great idea.
sounds great. All right, well, next week we'll be back, same time, same place. I will be in Sarasota, Florida, not in Oakland, California, where I am right now. Um, and I look forward to seeing you all soon.
All
Clint,
right.
thanks for doing this.
Thanks, Tim, as always. Thanks, everybody, and have a great rest of the week. We'll see you next week.
And we'll get you the recording and the transcript in a day or two.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.